Oh, yesterday, my girlfriend asked me to put lotion on her back, and I put body wash by mistake. So I'm rubbing the shit in. I'm like, why the fuck is this shit spreading? I said, you know what? I understand why you don't like me sometimes. I'm annoying.
A woman is dead and another woman is behind bars charged with her murder.
Police say when they arrived last Sunday night at May Street near Burbank and Walnut Hills, they found 33-year-old Diamond Rice suffering from a gunshot wound. She died at the scene. Court records state the shooting happened after an argument.
Local 12's Chris Arnold spoke with Diamond Rice's dad, who talked about his daughter's legacy. Chris.
She's very kind. She's always, trying to do for other people before herself. She was real intelligent.
On the night of February 1st, 2026, police officers rushed to an apartment in Cincinnati's Walnut Hills neighborhood after receiving a report of a shooting. Inside, they found 33-year-old Diamond Rice suffering from a gunshot wound.
Yeah, you know what I've realized today? My girlfriend don't do shit in this house. I'm the trash taker outer. I'm the market person. She don't carry no bags. She don't get up in the middle of the night and get you nothing to drink. All she do is run that mouth and find movies on Netflix. Like, miss, sweetheart, what is your skill? What do you do? That mouth run.
Despite emergency efforts, she died at the scene. Just hours earlier, nothing about her public life suggested that this night would end in tragedy. She had been active on TikTok, sharing posts with her followers as if it were any other day.
When I say, I don't got no money, maybe if I do my hands, maybe they'll understand. Listen, I just fucking moved. I'm getting adjusted. I hate when somebody see that I got shit going on, like moving from a whole nother one state to a whole nother state, and the fuck, you ask me for some money, my butthole get tight as shit like this. That bitch tight as a fucking blueberry. The bitch this little. I don't got no money. I don't got no money for them begging ass nieces and nephews. I don't got no cash apps. I don't got no money for Sheen. I don't got none of that shit. I don't got no donations for church. I don't have no money. I'm broke as a car with no engine. I don't got no money. If y'all don't get the
As investigators began piecing together what had happened, one detail quickly stood out. Diamond had not been alone inside the apartment. She had been there with her girlfriend, Jasmine Blake, the person who later called 911 and admitted to shooting her.
Yeah, I'm so ready for this semester to end. I'm so tired of studying. Am I driving study in days? I'm just sick of looking at this. I'm sick of doing this. I am study fatigued.
Blake told authorities she acted in self-defense, saying she believed her own life was in danger. But prosecutors presented a very different account. They argued that Diamond was not armed and that the evidence did not support the claim that deadly force was necessary. The case immediately raised difficult questions. What happened between the couple during those final hours? What caused an argument to escalate into a fatal shooting? Why did the two sides describe the events so differently? And what evidence would investigators uncover as they examined the apartment, interviewed witnesses, and reviewed the timeline leading up to the shooting? Subscribe to Matrix Crime and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our new case.
Why do you want you posted it?
Nobody cares.
Then why do you want you posted?
Every time somebody asks me about, she died. She died. Ask about her ex. She died.
She's no longer.
She's no longer here. They be like, for real, wow. She died. What happened?
Diamond Rice was born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland. As a teenager, she was living with her grandmother and her older sisters. Her grandmother was raising the girls on her own, and the situation became harder after she was diagnosed with breast cancer. During those years, Rice was arrested multiple times for stealing cars and was also charged in connection with a gun. She has described that period of her life as running the streets constantly, with little structure at home.
I've been sick for 2 weeks or whatever, so I go to urgent care, and I go to the back, and the doctor, he get the, doing his little checkup, checking my ears and all that, because I got like a cold. So out of nowhere, he say bend over. So I get to jumping down, and then it just hit me like, why? Why is that a part of the procedure for a cold checkup? Like, you freaky ass, freaky Fred doctor, get the fuck.
At age 13, a probation officer assigned Rice to Youth Advocate Programs, a national non-profit that provides community-based services as an alternative to youth incarceration. The organization, known as YAP, connects young people who are in the juvenile justice or child welfare systems with an individual advocate who works directly with them and their families. Rice later said that having an advocate meant having someone she could call, and that the relationship helped her picture a different kind of life for herself.
So last night, I offered my girlfriend $200 to call out of work today and chill with me in the house. She said no deal. She said you got times that, times like 5. Cause that's how much she get paid at work. She said I was cheap as shit and it ain't happening. Cool. Next thing you know, in the middle of the night, she comes on her period. So I wakes up. She's still here. It's like 8 o'clock in the morning. I ain't even think nothing of it. She called out anyway. But sweetheart, that $200 is null and void now. That don't count. Like, you ain't getting that. Cause your call out wasn't cause I asked. It was because you had technical difficulties. No, $200, no deal.
Her probation officer took a personal interest in her progress as well, at one point taking her to have tattoos removed from her face. Rice rediscovered an interest in school. She began taking her classes seriously, moved into advanced placement English, and eventually graduated high school. From there, she enrolled in a local community college, earned a commercial driver's license, and spent several years working as a professional truck driver.
One thing about my homegirls, them bitches don't listen. Like, they will do everything that you told them, advise them not to do. They ask you for all this advice. They will do everything that you told them not to do 100 miles and running. I say, friend, don't do that. Telling me about, friend, don't do that. And what she do? That. Like, you'll know about some shit from the beginning. And then when shit blow up, like how the fuck you said it's gonna blow up, and everything that you said gonna happen, now you gotta be on the phone for a week listening to this bitch cry and have road rage and all that. Like, just delusion at its fine. Ain't nobody more delusional than my motherfucking homegirls, bro. Oh, God.
Over time, her focus shifted toward the field that had helped her as a teenager. She pursued a bachelor's degree in social work and began working for youth advocate programs herself, first as an advocate and later as an assistant director, this time on the other side of the relationship that had once helped her. She also spoke of hoping to become an author someday. About a year before her death, Rice relocated from Baltimore to the Cincinnati area, taking a position as assistant director with Youth Advocate Programs of Hamilton County, Ohio. The organization's program director, Nate Lled, later said her optimism was one of her greatest strengths on the job, and that she was especially effective with the young people other advocates found hardest to reach. Rice often spoke about her own history as a former program participant when she worked with the youth in Hamilton County, using her own experience to connect with kids facing similar circumstances. Her father, Scott Rice, later said of that ability, "A lot of the kids they can't get to, she can." In November 2024, Rice represented youth advocate programs at the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention's 50th Anniversary National Conference on Youth Justice. She served as a panelist in a session titled Breaking Barriers: Successful Community Programs for Youth at Risk of Violence, moderated by a director from the National Institute for Criminal Justice Reform. On the panel, Rice spoke about her path from program participant to advocate, describing how having someone she could call had changed the way she saw her own future. By early 2026, Rice was living in an apartment in the 2300 block of May Street in Walnut Hills with her girlfriend, Jasmine Blake. Blake, 31, had lived in Cincinnati for about 2 years. She worked as a registered nurse with 6 years of nursing experience.
All right, so now I'm changed. I'm in the OR. I normally get out here at 5:15, but somebody didn't know how to get to the OR. On their OR, so I walk with them and show them. So it's a little late, but that's okay. So first thing I take off my O2 analyzer and let that sit for the 2 minutes it needs to sit, and then I kind of check my machine. So my systems tells. Let's speak on my favorites. You can see what that says. You could just do that. Okay, functional. Calibrate my flow sensor. Complete it. Shoot fair. Check my function. That's why it's always important to check your machine, because my leak test and blind test kept failing. Failed like 3 times. So I had to troubleshoot, change my circuit, and it started working again. So always check your machine. And that was the first time that ever happened to me. So I was gonna check your machine. It's 5:44. So I'm done checking my machine. I started at 5:20, so it took me about 20-ish, 25 minutes. So I have everything set up. I have like my patient ready to go. I had my mask ready. And get this off. And now I'm about to just draw up my drugs. I also looked at my patient in the same day to make sure nothing changed. They're here, nothing like that. And then I'll go see my patient at 6:30 to do my pre-op. This video is about to end. So when I set up for my push comp, I definitely get my prayer plan. I'll pull it out and I look at it and make sure I don't miss anything that I thought.
At the time of the shooting, was enrolled in a nurse anesthesia doctorate program at the University of Cincinnati, a graduate track that trains registered nurses to become certified nurse anesthetists who administer anesthesia and manage patient care during surgery.
Okay, so this video is for all my ICU nurses out there who's applying to CRNA school. These are my stats. Child. Terrible. Okay. So as you can see, my overall GPA was 3.16. Mind you, I went to 4 different colleges and finally graduated. I went to Notre Dame of Maryland, Coppin State, Morgan State, and Purdue. So overall, with all of those, it was 3.6. My core science classes was a 2.75. And then my core sciences was GPA 2.75. Then overall science was 3.12. Oh, I can move that. See, I'm learning on this app. Oh, okay. All right. So my bad. And then my last 60 hours, I guess they count those. He says some count just your last 60 hours was a 3.2. And as you can see at the bottom here, let me move myself out the way. I would consider your overall GPA a little below average for most programs. Child, went on me. Okay. So he recommended I take 2 graduate level classes, and hold on. Okay, and so this is the other one. As y'all can see, I don't know how to use social media, so I am learning. He said if you took 2 courses, they would be 4 hours each, and it will bring your overall GPA to 3.2, overall science to a 3.29. But graduate level classes don't count towards your GPA like higher, because I thought, like, does it count like more? Do I get more for getting an A in a graduate level versus undergrad? And he said no, it counts all. It's all the same. So that was his recommendation, is for me to take higher level courses. So yeah, y'all, I was below average, and boom, I got into a school, and the school I got into is a pretty good damn school. So there was, I think, 200 applicants. Then they invited 40 to the interview and selected 22. So yeah, 22 out of 200. Talk about it, below average. Where? Anyway, so I took 2 graduate level classes. I took advanced pathophysiology and advanced pharmacology. I took those at Boston, UMass of Boston. They were both online. They weren't bad at all. And I got an A in both. I took those, I think I took one in fall, one in summer, or one in spring, one in fall. I don't remember. I didn't take them together though. Took that, and then I was going to take an additional one. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to apply. I'm not about to take no more classes, because them classes are expensive, y'all. They're like $2,000 each. So they're very expensive. But it was worth it at the end. So if you feel like you need to I don't know what I'm saying. If you feel like you don't know where you stand, I recommend this company. It's called CRNA School Prep Academy. I am a member of them. It's like an annual fee. So I'm a member of them. I'm a member of the CRNA Club, I think. I don't even think I'm a member of that. I'm definitely not a member of that, but I follow her on Instagram. And then I'm a member of Diversity CRNA. So there's 2 programs where I spend my money on, and I use both of them faithfully. The CRNA Prep Academy is really good for when you're studying for your interview. They have a bunch of videos and like prep stuff for interview, which I really liked. So I read up on that prior to all of my interviews. All of my interviews. I only had one interview. So the school I'm going to, that was my first interview that I've ever done for CRNA, and I got in. So I'm still waiting on 2 more interviews, and hopefully I get those. Like I said before, they don't tell you until May. So I'm excited, and I feel prepared. I'm not as nervous for these 2 interviews, because I'm like, I'm already in, and I feel like, I understand the flow. I understand what I need to know, and I feel like I'm a little bit more confident going in now. So I'm not as nervous. How the interview went for the school that I'm going to. So you had an MMI interview, which was like an emotional intelligence interview, and it really wasn't to anyone. You were just on a Zoom, basically recording yourself, and you had to answer like these questions. Like they'll give you a question. I think you had like 4 minutes to answer the question, but you couldn't do like redos. Once you answered, that was it. So I had that first. Then after that, you have the in-person interview, which you can prompt to go in person, or, girl, my words, prompt to, like, that wasn't the right word, but you can either choose to go in person, which I knew a person who went in person, or you can choose to do Zoom. And the person I know that went in person, we both got in. So I don't think there's a difference between going in person versus not going in person. I just felt less nervous doing on Zoom versus being in person. So that was that interview. They basically just asked me clinical based questions. They gave me a patient. It was like a sim. So they had on a monitor. You had your EKG, you had your vital signs, everything. And they would like make changes and say, okay, what do you do? This patient is post-op day, blah, blah, blah. They had a cabbage. This is happening. What do you do? So those were type of questions they asked me. It was all clinical based. And then they also asked me two like personal questions, like what are characteristics of a CRNA? What do you think are characteristics of CRNA? And why do you want to choose my school? So make sure you're doing research on your school to know like, why do you want to go there? Like, what's the reason? And don't give a generic answer because you don't want to be like everyone else. The point is for you to stand out. So make sure you're giving questions that, you're giving answers that are personal to yourself, and shows that you really did the research and you know why you want to go to their school. So yeah, y'all, these are my stats. Screenshot it. I don't know what you want to do with it, but there it is. So, I wasn't a 3.6, 3.8 student. Wasn't me at all. But yeah, oh Lord, so to give you kind of perspective, in A&P, I got C in 1 and 2, got a C. Microbiology, I think I had an A in that. Chemistry, I had a B. Chemistry, I had a B. I had an A in chemistry at Coppin. Stats, I had an A in. Stats, I had an A in at Coppin as well. Like, a lot of my classes repeated, so I took chemistry at Purdue and at Coppin because it didn't transfer over. And that was it. I don't remember what I got in the rest of those classes. But yeah. If you have any more questions, let me know and I'll do another video. Bye.
Public records reviewed so far do not include verified details about how Rice and Blake met, how long they had been together as a couple, or whether police had ever been called to their address before February 1st. No protective orders or prior criminal charges connected to the relationship have been publicly documented in connection with this case. Sunday, February 1st, 2026, began like any other day. At some point that evening, Rice posted on TikTok one of the last things she is known to have done before her death.
Look, this is why you gotta go through a process to be people friends or be people acquaintances. You gotta ask questions. I asked this nigga yesterday, just hypothetically, I say, if one of your friends that you knew was trafficking minors, or they was dealing with minors in some type of form of capacity, I said, would you call the police? This nigga say, nah, I wouldn't call the police. I would just tell the hood. Nigga, what? You gonna tell the hood? What the hood gonna do? What? Y'all bitch ass niggas don't do shit to each other now. What the hood gonna do? What? You gonna tell the hood? I'd be just like the meme if I knew one of you niggas was stealing kids. I'd be... He taking kids. You gonna tell the hood? You not gonna call the police? You will never be my friend. You will never know me after saying shit like that. Like, idiot.
Around 8:30 p.m., she called her father, Scott Rice. During that call, she told him that she and Blake had been arguing. Neither of them knew it at the time, but it would be their final conversation.
He started being a little nervous, right? I said, is it something bad? He said, yeah. He said, Diamond was killed last night. He said, it was domestic. I said, Jasmine Blake? He said, yeah.
honestly, I tried to reach out to Jasmine's mother because I know them, and I didn't get a response, but I just want answers.
At some point after that call, the disagreement between Rice and Blake escalated inside their shared apartment. According to court documents, Blake's brother was on a FaceTime call with her during part of the incident and reportedly witnessed much of what happened. What exactly was said or done by either woman inside the apartment in the hours and minutes before the shooting has not been detailed in public court filings. Just after 10 p.m., Blake called 911. According to prosecutors, she told dispatchers, "She's gone," referring to Rice, and said that she believed Rice was going to kill her. Cincinnati police were dispatched to the 2300 block of May Street near Burbank Avenue and arrived at the scene at approximately 10:14 p.m. When officers entered the apartment, they found Rice suffering from a gunshot wound. Emergency crews attempted life-saving measures at the scene, but Rice did not survive her injuries. She was pronounced dead at the location. Further specifics, including the number of shots fired and the precise location of the shooting within the apartment, have not been released publicly. Homicide investigators with the Cincinnati Police Department built their case using evidence collected at the scene, the statements Blake made to 911 dispatchers, and accounts gathered from other witnesses, according to court documents. Prosecutors said that investigators found no indication Rice had been armed in a way that would have required the use of deadly force. They also said officers did not observe significant visible injuries on Blake that would have supported the need to use a firearm in self-defense. The investigation was assigned to the department's Criminal Investigations Section Homicide Unit, which handles the collection and review of scene evidence, witness interviews, and coordination with the Hamilton County Coroner's Office in cases of this kind. Blake was arrested early the next morning, Monday, February 2nd, and booked into the Hamilton County Justice Center at around 4 a.m. on one count of murder. She was initially held without bond. At her court appearance, prosecutors laid out the basis for the charge, pointing to the scene evidence, Blake's own statements during the 911 call, and witness accounts as the foundation of the case against her. Blake's defense attorney, Connor Riley, told the court that Blake had suffered injuries to her face during the altercation with Rice, and that Blake's brother, who had been on the FaceTime call, had witnessed much of what occurred. Riley said, "I believe we have a very strong self-defense case." A judge set Blake's bond at $750,000. She remained held at the Hamilton County Justice Center, awaiting further proceedings. A grand jury was expected to review the case within the following week to decide whether Blake would face felony prosecution in Hamilton County Common Pleas Court. A grand jury does not determine guilt or innocence. Its role is to review the evidence prosecutors present and decide whether there is enough to formally indict a defendant on felony charges. If the grand jury in this case returns an indictment, the matter would proceed to Hamilton County Common Pleas Court, where Blake would be arraigned again on any formal charges, followed by pre-trial hearings and, absent a plea agreement, a trial. If the grand jury declines to indict, the murder charge against her would not move forward in that court. At the center of this case is whether Blake's actions meet the legal standard for self-defense under Ohio law. In Ohio, a person is permitted to use deadly force if they reasonably believe they are in imminent danger of death or serious bodily harm, and that deadly force is necessary to prevent that danger. Once a defendant raises a claim of self-defense, the burden shifts to prosecutors, who must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the use of force was not justified. Ohio law also removes any duty to retreat before using force in self-defense in a place a person has a legal right to be, a provision often referred to as a stand-your-ground law, and it includes additional protections tied to a person's own residence, commonly known as the castle doctrine. Applying that legal framework to the facts made public so far, Blake's defense has pointed to her facial injuries and to her brother's account from the FaceTime call as support for her version of events, that she feared for her life during the confrontation. Prosecutors have countered that the physical evidence does not indicate Rice was armed, and that the injuries observed on Blake did not rise to the level that would typically justify the use of a firearm. Whether a grand jury, and ultimately a trial jury, finds that Blake's stated fear was objectively reasonable under the circumstances will determine whether the case is resolved as a justified act of self-defense or as a murder. News of Rice's death reached her family in the early hours of February 2nd. Her mother, Wanda Summons, said she learned what happened through a phone call around 3 in the morning, and, at first, thought the call concerned her own elderly mother before being told that her daughter had been killed. Summons said she did not understand how an argument could have led to her daughter's death. "All that I know is there was an argument that led to whatever happened," she said. She said she had reached out to Blake's mother, whom she knew, hoping for answers, but did not receive a response, and that she wanted to hear directly from Blake about why the shooting happened. Rice's father, Scott Rice, spoke about his daughter's ability to reach children that other adults could not get through to, describing that skill as central to who she was. He said the reality of her death was still sinking in, that he would never speak with her again. He also described her as strong and resilient. Summons, for her part, described her daughter as a source of warmth for the people around her, someone who showed unconditional love to people, regardless of how well she knew them, and who carried a deep empathy for others. In Baltimore, roughly 100 people gathered for a vigil outside New Shiloh Apostolic Temple on Hartford Road to remember Rice, despite cold weather that night. Family members and former colleagues spoke about the impact she had on the people around her. Summons said she planned to travel to Cincinnati to meet the young people her daughter had mentored through YAP, describing it as a way to stay connected to the work that had defined her daughter's life, and said she intended to keep pushing for answers as the case moved forward. Nate Lett, her program director at YAP Hamilton County, said in a statement that Rice had been a powerful force at the organization and was sorely missed both locally and within the national organization, adding that her optimism was her superpower. Colleagues who had worked alongside her recalled a woman who used her own difficult adolescence to build trust with young people who had been written off elsewhere and who had continued that work up until the final weeks of her life. Rice was also remembered within the Northern Kentucky University community, where she was known for the same advocacy work that had defined her career in both Baltimore and Cincinnati.